Welcome back to Africa 54. The U.S. removal of Iraqi President Saddam Hussein in 2003 created a new dynamic between Iraq and Iran. Now, the two nations, which fought an 8-year war in the 1980s, have re-established close ties with implications for the region and the United States. Viewers Jeffrey Young has this look at the impact of Baghdad and Tehran's warming relations.
After fighting each other for nearly a decade in a conflict that cost a combined 500,000 military casualties, Iraq and Iran ended their war in a stalemate in 1988. The two states remained coldly hostile for another 15 years. In 2003, U.S. forces invaded Iraq and drove Saddam Hussein and his Ba'ath Party from power. The result of that was the rise to power of the Shia, Iraq's majority, whom Hussein had largely excluded. Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki and his Shia Dawa party are now a major force in Iraq's government. Iraq has renewed relations with its Shia neighbor Iran, a move some in Washington view with concern. But Iraq's ambassador to the United States, Lukman Faili, says America has to accept Baghdad charting its own course.
It's important for the United States to understand that Iraq is an independent country. Iraq is a sovereign country, but Iraq is a proud ally of the United States.
Faili also deflects criticism that renewed ties with Tehran have given Iran too much influence in Iraq. Persian Gulf analyst Afshin Malavi of the New America Foundation says that what Iran wants would look like Lebanon.
Iran's vision is creating an Iraqi Hezbollah. They were hoping that they could, Muqtada al-Sadr could become the Hassan Nasrallah of Iraq, the leader of an Iraqi Hezbollah-type political party that would be both a militia and a political party that would also provide social services. It's a model that they think served them well in Lebanon.
Another Washington analyst, Fred Kagan at the American Enterprise Institute, says Iraq charts its own course but often works in concert with Iran.
Fundamentally, Iraq is acting at this point in the region as an ally of Iran on a state-to-state level in terms of its support for Bashar al-Assad, in terms of Dawa support for oppositionists in Bahrain, and in terms of allowing the Iranians to flout the sanctions regimes in an outrageous fashion.
Afshin Malavi says the Iraq-Iran relationship is a matter of cold pragmatism and opportunism.
At the end of the day, I mean, these are amoral national interest states, you know, and these amoral national interest states will find reasons, you know, to shunt aside their ideologies, their religious affiliations, their sectarian identities, if they feel it's both in the national interest of their state, but also in the personal interest of the political elites.
Analysts say the emerging Iran-Iraq relationship compels the U.S. to accept that no one state will be able to control the outcomes in the volatile Persian Gulf.
Well, joining us now to talk about the warming relations is viewers Jeffrey Young. Hello, Jeff, and welcome to Africa 54.
It's a pleasure to be here, Vincent.
A nice piece there now.
Thank you.
Very, very interesting. For a long time, these were enemies, Iran and Iraq. They're warming up to each other. Ideally, should this be a good thing for the United States?
The United States has to accept that it is not able by itself to control outcomes in the Persian Gulf. It has a major influence in the region. Obviously, with the Fifth Fleet stationed in Manama in Bahrain, we have a strong military presence along with land bases. But at the same time, we do not control, nor can we dictate the geopolitics of the region. After Iraq was resumed or re-erected as a freestanding sovereign state, indeed it did chart its own course. And it had a traditional affinity with Iran, which it has reestablished. And that's something that the United States now has to work with.
Because, you know, culturally, there is a connection here. The Shiites are the majority in Iran, and now they're in control in Iraq.
Absolutely. And the Shia are the majority population of Iraq to begin with. But the Ba'ath Party under Saddam Hussein strongly suppressed and disenfranchised many of the Shia. And now they have resumed their normal majority.
Yeah. Now, one interesting thing I thought here is that Iran has this interest of forming an Hezbollah-like kind of group in Iraq. How does this serve their interests?
You see what has happened in Lebanon. Hezbollah, which is under Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, is a major controlling element in Lebanon, in their politics, in their social structure, and many things in that part of the world, as in Africa, happen in terms of proxies and proxy forces. And it would be to Iran's advantage to have a strong proxy force within Iraq so that things it did not want to do directly can be done indirectly.
Although they're supposed to be buddies, I mean, lately at least.
Well, all close friends
Yeah.
in international relations also have a second track where you hold your friends close and you hold some people even closer.
Now, the other thing is that Iran has been accused of supporting militias, particularly in Syria. How does it do that? This, especially given that it has been under sanctions for a long time.
Excellent point. And here's an interesting scenario that has developed. Obviously, after the 1990-91 invasion of Kuwait, the Gulf War, Saddam and Iraq were under a very strict sanctions regime. Iran has been under very strict sanctions because of the accusations lodged against its nuclear program. So you have two states side by side, both of which have experience with sanctions and, to a certain degree, experience flouting sanctions. Now, about supporting militias. Iran doesn't have the ability, because of the sanctions regime, to necessarily overtly and directly support insurgents in Syria. However, because of the relationship with Baghdad, it gives them the opportunity to establish a means of moving money and a means of supporting factions that may be in operation in Syria through a Baghdad proxy situation. You can run the money through a Baghdad bank. You can run the material through a shell company that you create in Baghdad for the purpose of sending this assistance into Syria.
Mm-hmm. And very briefly, does the U.S. have leverage here, given that Iraq is a friend?
Indeed we do. We always have leverage. But at the end of the day, as Afshin Malavi, the analyst, said at the end of the piece that I just provided to you, we are dealing with two opportunistic nationalist states, which, as he put it, will look after their own interests and do what they need to do to get the job done, to take care of what they need for themselves.
Well, thanks a lot, Jeff, for your in-depth reporting and analysis.
Glad to join you.
All right. Jeff Young is from our colleague here at the Voice of America.